Hi, Safina. Uh, I'm sending this to you because I want to, have you be a witness for me. I'd be honored to have you as a witness for me as I try to convert to Islam. You've been really helpful in everything, so I'm sure you'll tell me if I said everything correctly. I'm wearing my prayer beads, see? So, and I'm on my prayer rug. So, here it goes. Bismillah. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Ameen. I hope I did that right, and I'm sure you'll let me know.
You didn't know? Well, now you do. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. Yes, it's me, April Love, here in Boston, wishing you a blessed time. Truly hope you're finding reasons to smile, laugh, enjoy life, appreciate everything and everyone around you. So, story time. 10 years ago, today, May 18th, I converted to Islam. Yes. Why? Well, hold on. Because, I don't wear this on a regular basis. So, I'm going to keep it real. So, again, 10 years ago, I converted to Islam. Long story short, I became really, really good friends with a person that happened to be Muslim. The funny thing is, we never talked about religion. We never talked about faith. We never talked about anything spiritual, anything like that. But we were really close friends, and there was a point where we ended up having a blowout, big misunderstanding, and it kind of put a real big spike or, kind of hurt the relationship. But they used to say that all the time, you have to understand my culture, my faith, my religion, and whatever. And I was like, okay. Even though we weren't speaking, and I really wanted to mend this friendship because it meant that much to me, I started reading the Quran. And mind you, I'm not a religious person. I grew up in the Catholic faith, but I wasn't practicing. I never. When I was younger, my mother used to have to get the priest to come and get me out of the car to go to Sunday school, or CCD is what they called it here. And I barely, for those of you who know Catholicism, I barely received communion, never got to confirmation. And as I got older, I believed in a higher power. Didn't necessarily believe if that entity was called God, or what was the best way to believe in it, because in Christianity alone there's so many different sectors, and although they all read from the Bible, they all say you have to worship this way, you have to believe this way. They have their stories that they go to, and that always confused me. I go, if there's one God, one religion, why are there so many different sectors? Why is there so much division? And so that left me more on the spiritual side, that as I learned about other religions, I took, or whatever gravitated towards me, I added that into my lifestyle and my personal belief system. I learned about Buddhists, I've learned about Mormons, learned very little bit about Judaism. And to be honest with you, even after 9/11, rest in peace to all those that, lost their lives on that day, I still didn't know anything about Islam. I didn't even know what Muslims were. I didn't know any of that. And, I never cared enough to learn either. It wouldn't be until my early 30s where I, again, became friends with somebody that happened to be Muslim. And again, we never talked about religion or faith. But because I valued that relationship so much, I wanted to learn about this person's culture or his faith or whatever. And I did a little research online, and there was, things here and there, but you can't trust everything you read online. And I was like, you know what, maybe if I read the Quran itself, maybe and find an English version, that I'll get some better understanding. As I was reading it, I was getting more validation and confirmation for myself. It no longer became about understanding my friend. It became more about I was connecting to this, what I was reading. And what was interesting to me is because I grew up knowing the stories of like Noah and Jesus and all the stories that we're all very, if you're familiar with the Christian and Catholic faiths, you know a lot of the stories. Islam is no different. They have the same stories. People might not realize that because there's so much division and hatred going between everybody that nobody takes the time. And I think when you believe you're a part of, I say believe because people that claim to be a part of a particular faith, we all know not everybody practices. They just identify with it because that's what they grew up with. And I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not going to debate in this video. Anyway, I was seeing all these similar stories. The only story that's not the same is the belief and story of Jesus. The only difference there is they don't believe Jesus is the Son of God. Muslims believe that he is a prophet, that God did breathe in his, give him a piece of his spirit. But that's the truth for all of us. But he did give him the healing powers or healing spirit, and things of that nature. And they also don't believe that he was crucified. They believe he was brought back to God alive. Again, I'm not going to debate it. It's just, to give you the understanding. But the overall morals and the overall stories, from, again, Noah to Abraham to, I'm trying to think of other prophets, Moses, those stories are pretty much the same. But again, reading through the Quran and from my own interpretation and connection to it, by the time I finished reading it, something told me inside that I wanted to convert. And I did. And I did what they call the Shahada. The Shahada is basically the declaration that there is only one God and that the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, is the last prophet or the last messenger. And at the time, while I was doing my own research and reading, I connected with someone in a message board who lived in New Zealand, and I did my Shahada via video, as you saw, with her, because you can do your declaration alone to yourself, to God, but it's better to have a witness, and the more witnesses, the better. So she was my only witness at the time, and I could only do it through video. So I did the best I could. And from there, I started learning more. And of course, when you do something like this, that's when your your will to learn and practice is the strongest. And for the first probably 5 years, I was praying 5 days a week. I was 5 days a week, 5 times a day. I was learning all that I could. I was learning words, trying to learn a little bit, some Arabic. And it wouldn't be until 2 years later that I would meet my mother-in-law and my husband. And and again, this is all I consider all of this divine guidance, because if I've never met my Muslim friend to begin with, this path wouldn't have come into my life. And as the years went on, I'll be honest, I don't pray like I should. I do pray, but I forget sometimes, or I get lazy. But I do. I try to read the Quran as often as possible. And, when I'm able to, I do go to the mosques. And I actually enjoy going to the mosques. And I do participate in Ramadan. And because I'm a giving person, one of my favorite things to do is to give in charity in any way I can, whether it's financially or just being there for somebody. So, anyway, today's the 10th year anniversary of me converting to Islam. And I thought I would share it. It's kind of a milestone in my life. It was a turning point, faith-wise, obviously. Again, I still consider myself more spiritual than religious. But I've learned a lot in the last 10 years. One, because I, connected with my husband's family, my mother-in-law's family. I learned a lot about how they live and the similarities. Like, it's no different than any other family. They have birthdays and gatherings, and I can say this, living in them living in Morocco, and this, what I've learned, even with them living here, people living here, they still they still live a very simplistic life that a lot of us wish we could go back to, with the family dinners and helping one another and connecting with one another, and something that I really came to appreciate. But anyway, again, I don't want to get into too much of that detail, but I figured I'd use this video today to kind of celebrate the fact that I become Muslim. And if you're wondering why I don't wear the headscarf on a regular basis, and why I don't cover myself up on a regular basis, one, it's my choice, and you can ask 5 different Muslims, 5 different people, 5 people that grew up in it, that will tell you 5 different things. But if I take it from the Quran, there's one passage in the Quran that says, cover yourself with your veil, with your headscarf, and dress in modesty. Although I don't cover my head, I feel like in my own way, I do dress in modesty. I don't flaunt my body. I don't show off anything, so I feel in my own way I am, adhering to, God's wish. Anyway, again, I don't want to get into a whole lot of detail. I want this be celebratory and celebrate that this is 10 years of me, this is the 10th year anniversary, and that after 10 years, I still consider myself a Muslim, and I do my best to practice the best I can. I know I can always do better. We can always all do better. But I'm happy where I am, and, I'm still learning, and I never forget where I'm coming from, because you've seen my dresser with the Bible and the Buddha and the Quran, so again, I'm more spiritual than religious. Anyway, I hope you like this. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And thank you for watching. I appreciate you. I love you. My prayers and love go out to everybody right now, as always. And with that, see you in the next video. Like, love, share, and inspire. Don't forget, love is everything. Much love. Peace.